Evening and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for the second Save the Rhino online event of 2025. We have a big audience joining us from around the world this evening. I think we've got over 160 people signed up, and perhaps our most diverse audience yet. You've told us you're joining from Australia, Kenya, France, Canada, Bermuda, here in the UK, Uganda, Chile, Namibia, India, Germany, and Mozambique. So a really wide range of people interested in our topic this evening, talking about the work of rangers. And understandably, the vital work that rangers are doing is clearly a topic which people are absolutely fascinated by, inspired by, and want to learn so much more about. I think the vital work that rangers are doing on the ground that is so important for conservation is one that many people want to learn a lot more about. And I feel incredibly honoured to be joined this evening by three extremely impressive field conservationists who are working with very important rhino populations in 3 different countries across Africa, under very different contexts. So I'm really looking forward to our chat this evening. Huge thanks to the 3 of you for giving us your time. To those of you joining from elsewhere, maybe just to note that our speakers are joining from remote areas. There may occasionally be a bit of a glitch in their connection or a delay on the line. So fingers crossed tech will work with us, but bear with us if there are any issues. So let me kick off with introductions, and in no particular order, introduce you firstly to Nambo Mpingi, who is the first female deputy director of Etosha, which is Namibia's flagship national park, and home to a very large and very important population of critically endangered black rhinos. She has a deep history and experience in environmental management and biodiversity conservation. She's motivated by her passion for both biodiversity and sustainability and sense of responsibility to make the planet a more equitable place. She's, like me, very passionate about the role of women in conservation and the need for individuals to make a difference, but to promote the role of fellow women in working in conservation. So it's Nambo. Second up is Edward Indiritu. Edward is head of anti-poaching at the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy and Northern Rangelands Trust in Kenya. He's responsible for overseeing the strategic deployment of teams, anti-poaching teams, gathering of intelligence, responding to and investigating wildlife crimes, and broader support around insecurity in the community conservancies around Lewa and the Northern Rangelands Trust areas. Edward was the winner of the inaugural Prince William's Tusk Wildlife Ranger Award. He's overseen a very impressive decline of rhino poaching in Lewa. He strongly believes in promoting broader security, not just within his reserves, but for the communities living around them. And he's also an incredible advocate for Rangers Ultramarathon, which takes place across 4 different conservancies, 25-kilometer run across 4 different conservancies in Laikipia and Kenya. So Edward, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And last but not least, we are joined by Dennis Kelly, who is a section ranger from the Makamisa section in Mfolozi Park in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Dennis is a Ezenvelo KZN wildlife graduate through and through. He has a diploma in nature conservation, and he undertook the practical part of his is actually within Mfolozi, leading wilderness trails in Mfolozi, an incredibly special part of the world. He worked as a section ranger in Mkuzi Game Reserve, also in KwaZulu-Natal, before returning to Klihlio as section ranger in Romani, before moving to Makamisa section in 2017. Dennis, you may need to correct some of my Zulu pronunciation, but I have done the very best I could there. So we're going to have a fairly informal chat with these three people this evening. I'll be asking them a number of questions, which we'll talk through together, about life as a ranger, the realities of life as a ranger. Quite a few of you dropped some really interesting questions through in advance, so we'll run through those. If any questions occur to those of you watching live, do please drop them into the chat, and I'll endeavour to add those to our panelists at the end. Welcome, thank you again. Let's kick off perhaps by sharing with people joining from all of those countries all around the world a little bit more about what your days really look like. And of course, you're all senior people in your roles now, responsible for major decision making. So perhaps you could talk about your life, but also the reality of the life of a field ranger working on the ground in your park. I suggest we kick off with Edward. Edward, would you perhaps chat to us a little bit about your work in Lewa?
Thank you very much, Joe. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for coming to hear what we do. We are very happy to be part of you, to tell you what we do. I myself, as Joe said, am Edward Derito, head of Ant-Poaching Unit, Lewa Ward of Conservancy in Kenya. So my day starts with physical fitness. So on Mondays, Wednesday, Friday, we do gym, about 1 hour from 8 to 9. And on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we do an easy run, which is a minimum of 10 kilometers. So it starts at 6:30 in the morning with all the rangers who are based in the camp. We do a run. By doing fitness, it's not only fitness, but it's teamwork. When you learn together, when you train together, you become one team. So after that, we go for a shower. Then after that, I go to the office for a few hours, then off to the field to see the team, because you know where I am at Lewa, we have rhinos. And for you to secure rhinos, we must have rangers in the field. So I normally go to the field to see how they are doing, what their challenges, talk to them, motivate them. And I make sure that every month, 3 or 4 days, I have to spend the night with them to feel what they feel, to bond with them. Because I also started as them. I started as a rhino monitor, grown to be Ant-Poaching Unit, and then a senior commander. Also, being the head of Ant-Poaching Unit, I have another role whereby I have meetings. You know, in conservation, the most important partner is the community. You cannot do conservation without good neighbors. Community are the first line of our defense. So I have meetings with the community, go see them, listen to their views, act as a bridge, like a bridge between the rangers and the community. I also work with other stakeholders because we have neighboring conservancies. We organize meetings. After every 2 weeks, we have to have meetings with different conservancies to know what they are doing, to learn from them, to organize joint patrols with them, and to hear from them the challenges, and also to see where they can assist us and where we can assist them. Also, I work with other stakeholders like Kenya Water Service. So I have to organize meeting in a month, go see them, learn from them, give them our challenges, see how they can assist, and also see how we can assist them. So in short, that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, your initial point there about fitness, exercise, not just for fitness, but the huge importance of teamwork and people being really well connected and supporting each other certainly resonates with the experiences I've seen in different reserves. Dennis, how does that correlate with your life down in HIP?
So firstly, thanks very much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and thanks for the interest that everyone around the world has shown. It's very inspiring, that's for sure, knowing that there's people interested to listen to what we do over there. And Save the Rhino for your support. I think so. So my role as a section ranger, I've got a more sort of a broad role of responsibilities. Law enforcement isn't the only one. Unfortunately, with the increase in the rhino poaching pressure and other poaching pressure and the demand for species around the world from the black markets or the illegal markets, law enforcement has become a major part of my day-to-day work. But a number of years ago when I first started, and it still should be that way now. Unfortunately, like I say, we're putting a lot of effort into the law enforcement side. But as a section ranger, my day-to-day work is a lot to do with staff management. As Edward said, we're all running our own little teams, and without a strong team, you can't get anything done, especially when it comes to working in remote areas and also in sometimes dangerous situations. And you're also dealing with some cantankerous animals that can also be dangerous. So if you don't have a good team system with communication and stuff, it can go bad quite quickly. But day-to-day work is a lot of staff work, staff management they have to deal with. Time books and all the mundane, boring stuff that you'd think we wouldn't have to deal with, but we do have to deal with a lot of that. Health and safety is an issue. Monthly claims for salaries and things like that is something that we have to deal with as well. South Africa is a lot different to some other places in Africa that have got the luxury of having very large protected areas, like my two colleagues have here. We've actually have fences around a lot of our parks. Even the very big parks have got fences. So a lot of my work is around fence maintenance. Obviously to keep potential damage causing animals inside, potentially dangerous animals inside, and also unfortunately to keep illegal activity in check. The other thing, road maintenance, equipment maintenance, vehicle maintenance, all that kind of stuff falls into our day-to-day work. So it is very varied, and it keeps us busy, that's for sure. But yeah, there's definitely not one day the same here, that's for sure. And unfortunately, I think my colleagues will agree, all the important stuff and things that I've mentioned now often end up taking a backseat because of law enforcement. So it's a balancing act, finding time to attend to all those kind of things and remembering that you have staff working for you and in the game reserve, and you can't forget them when you're running off after poachers all the time. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get into a bit more of what we do further on. I don't want to talk for too long.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. I'm sure not many of the audience joining from home imagine the life of a field ranger involving lots of HR, but of course, this is the reality of people's roles. I can see smiles and nods. Namba, of course, you're in an extremely senior role as a deputy director and responsible for Etosha. You could perhaps talk to us a little bit about your day and also the work of the rangers out in the park, please.
Thank you very much. Good day to everyone, and greetings from Etosha National Park. Resonating from what Dennis have said, and being the sort of a head ranger for Etosha National Park, one of the largest national park in the world, with size of more than 22,000 kilometers square, which is equal to some of the countries in the world. You can imagine how each day seems in Etosha. And for me, I'll speak for myself, but also for the rangers out there who are doing the actual work in the field. And as I said, resonating to what Dennis have said, as a head of the Etosha, each day is different. I can have all sort of plans for each day, but each day is different. And as a mother, as a woman, I do multitasks, and I need to be very flexible. Just to say, having a staff complement of close to or over 300 staff from the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, but also joined by our Defense Force and the NAMPOL in Etosha National Park in fight against rhino poaching. For me, that means, as Dennis have said, human resources management. Take one of my time as a deputy director for Etosha. But on top of what we do as part of law enforcement, wildlife crime prevention, I also have staff members who deals with infrastructure development. You can imagine managing or maintaining and fixing a fence of over 824 kilometers square, and making sure that the elephants, the lions, and all other predators do not cause most of the human-wildlife conflict incidents outside the park. And you may know that Etosha is one of the most visited park in the world. And we also do tourism management and making sure that the tourists adhere to the park rules and regulations. And most of the time, like anyone else, when people are on a holiday mood, they get so excited and they forget about the basic things. And you have tourists getting out of their vehicles, want to touch a lion, you can imagine. And we have to make sure as peace officers, as rangers in the park, that all these rules and regulations are implemented. And also really making sure that with all this population of rhinos and other wildlife species, we provide making sure that all the water holes, because most of you may know that Namibia is a dry country, and as Etosha, we provide we provide water at our water point using artificial water infrastructure, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we maintain the pumps, we make sure they are working. So it's really, it can be overwhelming. And as I said, even when you have it planned, then you have poachers on different directions. And even when you are in a meeting somewhere and something happened, you have to make sure that the response team are out there in the field. You have to make sure that all the other teams in the field, being providing water to game, anti-poaching fencing team, are also provided with water and food and all that. So logistical support to all the team in the field. So our daily life in the park is quite busy, but also very exciting. And just, I think, really emphasizing that each day comes with all its challenges, and we appreciate to be part of the guardians who take care of a very important species, wildlife species in the world, and really keeping the team and make sure that everyone is well. Maybe also just to indicate that you also have other members in the field. Some are not feeling well. The other one need to go to the hospital. Some have their loved one who passed away, and all this logistic come to my office, and we make sure that we pull it together and still do the functions as expected from us as the guardians of wildlife management in Etosha National Park. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nambo. And I love that analogy of the parks almost as countries. You're running towns, you're running provinces. It's the realities of the infrastructure and the detail and the logistics on the ground really are quite something. Perhaps thinking now a bit more about what people would have in their minds as a field ranger, someone who's out in the bush every day, boots on the ground, the people who are on the at the forefront of the work to protect wildlife, the wildlife guardians, as you say. What those of you who've experienced it or talking to your colleagues presently, what is the most challenging part of their days? What is the hardest bit, do we think, about being a field ranger? Nambo, perhaps back to you. I think Nambo's muted, sorry.
Oh, sorry. As I've already indicated, managing such a huge park comes with a lot of challenges. And I think let me start with ourselves as rangers. We stay away from our families. It's not that all of us have our families there. We stay in the remote area with minimum facility, and in most cases, and I think what most of the people do not even realize, most of the rangers deals with mental issues, and we are also dealing with difficult situation where sometimes there are exchanges of fire, and they even where either ranger or a poacher is killed. Unfortunately, such situation happen. And in most cases, we don't have the psychosocial support, and also people staying away from their family. There are a lot of mental issues. And we are also staying far from proper medical care. And it's not that you can just walk and drive to a psychologist, and all this can really weigh our people down. And as a park manager, we need to deal with all this. And I'm a trained nature conservator, I'm an environmentalist, I'm not a psychologist. And unfortunately, sometimes there are several times I had to close my door because somebody comes in the office and they need a shoulder to cry on, or just really signifying that mental issues when it comes to ranger is one of those challenging issues we deal with. But I also want to say that some of the challenges are related to operational activities that you just don't have adequate resources, equipment to make sure that, for example, poachers operate most of the time at night. And you as us as rangers, we need to make sure that we have essential equipment. And as a result, we have all these challenges of inadequate resources, being funding, equipment, and all that. And also the issue of as much as we want to do the best, the world is evolving and people are using artificial intelligence, the whole issue of technology, and there is really inadequate resources to make sure that we introduce all range of technologies, even capacity and analytic capacity to make sure that the resources or the technology we are implementing, we analyze that and use it as a support decision tool. So really, it's some of those challenges which we deal with on an everyday basis. Maybe I can hand over to my other colleagues to speak to some of those.
Thanks, Amber. I think there's the challenges, the mental challenges, the points about psychological well-being of rangers, given the very challenging work they do, is a topic that's we're only really becoming more aware of and being able to invest more into supporting people in the best way. So yeah, it's a very important conversation to be had. Edward, I don't know, perhaps you could share your experiences from Lewa and whether any of that resonates with you.
Yeah, I would add what Josephine has said. Many people say that a ranger is a human being. We are parents, we are fathers, we are mothers. And also we are human being like any other human being. Being a ranger is a call. It's about passion, and you have to sacrifice all your things because, as she say, we work during holidays. We don't know Christmas, we don't know New Year's. We sacrifice all that because, like here in Lewa or in Kenya, if you take Christmas or New Year, the poachers will take advantage to come and poach that time. And I myself will share an experience because I started as a junior ranger. I've been doing this for the last 26 years. And I have done this as a ranger, been a ranger for 16 years. So when you're out there doing what you do in the first line of defense, you feel very bad because, there are people who don't appreciate what you do. And in your heart, you know that whatever you are doing because of the benefit of our future, because, we are doing this to protect and conserve because of our future generation. This is what don't belong to us. We are doing it because of the future generation, because of our children and children of our children. And when the rangers are out there, when it is raining, when it is very hot, because here in Lewa, for you to protect a rhino, Lewa or in Kenya, you have to spend night out in the field. Sometimes it's very cold, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes the sun is very hot. Because in Kenya, 90% of rhino poaching happens when the moon is bright and it is at night. So you also have to patrol during the night. When other people are sleeping, you are patrolling, just because of the sake of future generations. So as Josephine says, sometimes, you have rangers who have mental problems because, they see a lot of scenarios. People don't even interact with other people. We do opposite of what other people are doing. When people are taking Christmas and New Year, that is when we have to bring all rangers back because that is when we are extra alert. So when people are having parties and Christmas and New Year, in our career, we have never done that with our family. So we have to sacrifice. And also this sacrifice has to be extended to our family. So even Rangers family also get this, go through whatever you go. So those are the biggest challenges that we face as rangers, but we cannot regret because we know we'll be paid back. We are being paid back by conserving the endangered animal because of the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Very, very powerful words. Very powerful words. Dennis, I wonder if you could share what resonates for you for HIP.
Yes, sure. I think both my colleagues have covered some very important points there. I think something that weighs heavily, especially on myself, and I'm sure everyone else involved in the same field, is that we've got it's a large responsibility that we carry, protecting what we are protecting for basically humanity, in terms of protecting what is here out in the wild places for others to enjoy. It's their heritage as well. And being in South Africa, I think that I'm working for the South African public in terms of protecting the heritage that's here. South Africa is going through a bad time at the moment in terms of the economy, and I'm sure it's like that. Well, it is like that over all sorts of places on the planet, and not just in Africa itself. But so our operational budgets are cut all the time, and that makes the job even harder. That's something very, very hard to manage on a day-to-day basis, and it takes a huge toll on. It's a mental toll on everybody. So this is the reality that we're living in, and we have to try our best to get through it. Yeah, and I must say, just at the end of that, we're talking about challenging aspects. We have to say a huge thank you to Save the Rhino and all the support that they give us from their followers and their donors and their supporters. I mean, they've been helping us for over 10 years now, and without Save the Rhino support and the donor support, and I'm sure a lot of you on board tonight are part of that. So we have to say thank you very much for that. Without you guys, we wouldn't have all the equipment and the uniform and things like that we have at our disposal. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you. Thanks, Dennis. That's very, very kind of you to say. But I'm aware of these conversations, but I still find them very emotional and very moving to think about just how much people sacrifice in order to do the work that they're doing. And I imagine someone sitting listening to this around the world, when they think about the challenges of being a ranger, they think about perhaps wild animals or having the right boots. And those things are, of course, challenges to deal with, but they're the far bigger picture, more complex picture of the challenges that people face. Of course, at the same time, as conservationists, we do what we do because we're passionate about it and because we love it. So from that rather bleak and by talking about the most rewarding part of being a field ranger, what is the best thing about the work that you do, the work that your field ranger colleagues do? What is it that inspires you to keep doing it every day? Dennis.
Okay, thank you for the easy one, and I got to go first in this one. As I said in my talking just now, is that I've got obviously I do this because I want to do it, and I'm very, very lucky that I got to do it. And there's lots of people who want to go into conservation and to get into a position like I am, and they don't get the opportunity. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm very happy about that. Added to that, the history of this park in particular, the Hluhluwe Park, being proclaimed in 1895, it's a very old park, and it's got an incredible past and history to it. So it makes living here and working here extra special. So that's definitely something that's very rewarding. I think being able, even though we've just gone through talking about the pressures and the difficult aspects, being able to wake up in the morning in a place that I do every day, I count myself very lucky. And I think the relationships that you build and the teamwork, like Edward was talking about, and a number of the same in terms of your teamwork and the team that gets built, even though you go through tough times, the little team that you've got and the place where you do your work, and when you have the successes that you eventually start getting, I think that's an incredibly rewarding feeling. And it sort of takes away from the hard times, that's for sure. I mean, there's lots of jobs that are difficult, and there's lots of jobs that have challenges, and we can't say that we're special in that regard. But I think we're very lucky in terms of the places that we work, the animals that we get to see every day, and the quiet and the away from the rat race and that kind of thing really makes it rewarding and a special job to do. So I have to pinch myself a lot, I must say. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan. I see you smiling, Nambo. Do you pinch yourself too? I think.
Oh, yes. The good thing about the rangers and conservators, I think there's something we share in common. And it's always about that personal satisfaction that you are able to contribute to saving those endangered species. It's as much as it's a very difficult job, someone have to do it, and we have to do it. And as for me, growing up, reflecting now and just looking around, there are very few women who are in conservation. There are very few women who are rangers. And it's so rewarding to also just inspire other women that we can be there. We can contribute to really making sure that we contribute to the future of the wildlife species. And for that matter, for me in Etosha, it's even about that rhino population, which we don't want it to extinct. But more to that, it's also about us contributing to the impacts to the community we serve, the community who also value this wildlife species, who are also deriving tangible benefits from it. It's just good to know. And as I always say, it's about not only wildlife, it's about people, wildlife, and the ecosystem. And when we keep this ecosystem going, when it can sustain itself, we contribute to a healthy landscape where people, wildlife, and ecosystem can thrive. So for me, that's rewarding. I always say that if this is the fight I have to fight, even if my last bullet is about fighting that, one day someone will look back, my children, the women around the world, they will say she was doing the right thing. So it's a rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you, Nambo. Edward, from your experiences on the ground in Kenya, what inspires you and what do you find rewarding about ranger work?
Mine will be very short because, working as a ranger is so rewarding. When you go out there, see rhinos, see elephants that are being born and thriving in peace, you feel so rewarding. And in your mind, you know that you are protecting wildlife that cannot protect themselves. So it's so rewarding when you feel like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you for the work you do and for such powerful and inspiring emotions, which I'm sure people around the world will carry forward in their hearts too. And I'm sure they're all hugely grateful for the sacrifices that you and your teams are making for the future of wildlife, people, and the planet. I have one last question from myself for you, then we'll have a few more that people asked in advance. But those of you listening right now, do please, any questions that are coming to mind, any specific points you want to pick up with our speakers, please do drop them into the chat. Dennis, you already touched on this a little bit, and thank you very much. It's not the purpose of this call, but how can the people listening, how can our audience, how can people around the world best support the vital work that rangers are doing? And this is important for us to how therefore can Save the Rhino best help you?
Thanks, Joe. That's for the opportunity, that's for sure. I think the most important thing is, so as my position as a section ranger, I've got field rangers that work in my section that obviously do the day-to-day patrolling. I wish I could just do that all day, but someone has to be the manager, unfortunately. But I think the vital aspect there is, and I alluded to it earlier, was the basic things like uniform, boots, and things like that. There's nothing worse than a field ranger that hasn't got the right uniform or boots or whatever to go and walk, and they're walking in a very harsh environment. And you need to be comfortable, and you need to look professional, and you need to be happy with what you're wearing and performing a task like that. The other thing that's very important for I take it very I see it as a very important aspect of the field rangers' day-to-day life is comfort at their camps where they live. So the field rangers spend quite a few hours out every single day, and then at least once a month they go out on extended patrols where they camp out in the bush for 5 days and sometimes longer than that. And when they come back to their camp after a long day, or maybe they've pushed 48 hours and they've gone through exactly the kind of stuff you can imagine them going through in terms of dealing with armed poachers and potentially dangerous game, you want them to be comfortable and safe in their camp. So I think understanding what a field ranger has to go through every single day and performing their job, and very often not getting paid very well to do it, it's only right that they have a comfortable place to come back to, and they have a good uniform, safe uniform to wear. So I think that the basics are so important, and I think people tend to forget those. People like looking at the big sparkly things like drones and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the most important most important aspect of any of this is the ranger in the bush. And I think for everyone who's listening to this, it will be good for them to understand. And obviously tonight they've had a good opportunity to get a good insight in terms of what goes on every single day. But I think looking deeper into what the field rangers go through every single day, and the stresses and the hardships that they have, having those simple things in place is very important. And I know that Save the Rhino and your donors and your followers have been very helpful with that in the past. So that's what I would say is really extremely important for that.
Thanks, Dan. Edward, anything to add? How can people around the world best support Leeuwers Rangers?
I would start by saying what you are doing, Save the Rhino. Thank you very much, because the biggest one is the awareness, because there are people who are out there, they don't know what you are doing, but good to Save the Rhino, you are informing people what we go through and what we do and why we do it. So that's the biggest. Then again, as Dennis has said, with the Rangers, you will succeed if you have well looked after Rangers. And when I say well looked after Rangers, when they get equipment, and if you say equipment is the proper equipment, if it is boot, the correct boot, so that the guys, when they are patrolling out in the field, they are safe, they are comfortable, they are warm, they don't feel any challenges. Next one is equipment, because we have to equip them with the proper equipment. Like here in Kenya, I have said that 90% of rhino poaching happens at night. And we have seen even poachers who have even advanced to use technology. They are also using drones to survey. They are also using night vision goggles. So we have to be ahead of the game. So for us to succeed and also to be better than them, we have to have proper equipment. We, the Rangers, we might be having the passion to do what we do, but without the support of people like who are listening to us today, without the support of people like Save the Rhino International, we cannot do or we cannot achieve objective. So we can do better by getting support. Thank you.
Thanks, Edward. Nambo, any last thoughts from Namibia?
Oh, yes. Just anchoring to what Dennis and Edward have said, indeed, the equipment, right equipment, support to that. We know that over the year, there have been quite good support through Save the Rhino Internationals, and we indeed appreciate that. But just to also emphasize that this equipment's age, the uniform the colleagues are talking about, I always say, when we get uniforms, I always say somebody who sits in an office every day and somebody who goes in the field every day, you cannot treat them the same. And as it was already indicated earlier, there is always inadequate operational budget for running all this. And if we can really be assisted, but also the tents. As I said, we have different teams. If I give my anti-poaching equipment like tents to go in the field, they stay there throughout the year. And sometimes when you say, no, we need tents, people say, but we bought tents. But a tent and other equipment which stand in a harsh environment constantly for a year, it will not last long. So as we seek for support, just to emphasize that there are factors why we continuously request for such equipments. Rightly said, proper equipments, night visions, and whatever is required. I always said that perhaps the poaching syndicates are more advanced than us. Therefore, I really think there's a need to support us in parks in terms of implementing the artificial intelligence, our technology plans. There is quite a number of a range of technologies which are identified, but they are not cheap. They are quite expensive, and therefore I think it's very important that we look at that aspect to support. But also critically, we have communities who are the eyes and ears in managing and conserving the wildlife species. I think there is really a need to also invest, for example, in farmers' incentives programs for communities. People need to make sure that they are protected when they bring forth information, but that they are also rewarded. And I think the rewards, if we give, it's not so much encouraging that community comes forward. But maybe in addition to that, if we have to project the value of the wildlife species we are taking care of, there's a need to make sure that there are tangible impacts to communities, as I said. And that means there's a need to invest in community beneficiation programs and making sure that they really see a rhino, they see that lion as a very important assets to them to protect, but they can only do that. Even sharing the space, which of course the landscape, the ecosystem is for all of us, but we have to make sure that community get tangible benefits out of conservation if we are to make sure that we sustain the species we have for the present and future generation. But really just in addition to what my brothers have said already, but appreciating what everyone have been contributing, because we take care of what we do. It's just not for us, it's for everyone else, and it's for humanity, and it's for biodiversity, and it's for the ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much. And you've all been very kind about Save the Rhino. We appreciate it very much. Thanks for your thanks, but this really was that this is not intended as an event to blow our trumpet. What brings us satisfaction, what is our passion, is making sure that we can empower you and empower the rangers to do their important work. So really the thanks are to you and to your teams. And we've got an overflow of messages coming into the chat function on YouTube from our viewers all around the world, sharing their gratitude and respect and admiration to the ranger team. So please do pass that on, and we must, I think, look into more ways that we can let the guys on the ground know how much people in other countries all around the world are grateful for what they get up and do every single day. We're nearly at the end of our event this evening. It's been such a long and detailed chat. We only have 5 minutes left, and we probably only have time for one extra person from someone who shared in advance. Nambo, you've touched a little bit on this, but Jennifer Keegan in the United States said that she'd like to hear more about the most impactful ways that you see and participate with communities and the inclusion and education of people living around protected areas. I know this is something you're passionate about. Edward is very, very involved in. Maybe we could just have 2 or 3 minutes speaking to Jennifer's question. And thanks to all of you who have sent questions through.
Yeah, maybe on our side, we work very close with the community, and as we have all said, community is the first line of defense. We cannot achieve our objective without a community. We might be having rangers. Like here in Lewa, we have over 270 rhinos, but without the community, we cannot have our rhinos secured. So other than what we do as ant poaching unit, we also extend our hand to support the community, even in security, because here in Lewa, the rangers, the ant poaching unit, we are national police service. 80% of what we do in terms of follow-up is non-conservation related matters, follow-ups. And we go to the community to assist them whenever they have challenges like housebreaking, road banditry, any stock theft, we go and assist them. And by doing that, we try to buy the goodwill from them. Also, as Lewa, we have projects. We have education project whereby we give bursaries to school kids. We also have community projects where we have water. We have clinics where people go for medications. We have microcredit for women where they can take loans with very low interest, and so that they can see the tangible benefit of conservation. We build schools. We also teach young guys how to do farming. profitable farming, so that all people are aligned with conservation. So without the community, we cannot do what we do. Community is the most important thing into our work. And we normally say as rangers, they are our first line of defense, because in Kenya, the people who are involved in poaching for rhinos is not desperate people in the community. This is done by people who are well organized. So by working very close with the community and buying their goodwill, we get a report even before it happens. And that is what we normally look forward to, because you might be having very good, well-trained ranger or very equipped rangers. Even if the poacher will come in, you track, you arrest and prosecute, and you get conviction, already you have lost the animal. So we like to work with the community so that we get the information before it happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. This is certainly something I'm very passionate about, this approach to conservation, not just being the fortress and the fence and the animals inside, but about this much broader landscape safety. Taking that much bigger, more holistic approach to safety and security and the impacts of organized crime. I'm really sorry. I would love to keep chatting to all of you for much longer, but we've only got 2 minutes left. So my apologies to those of you who sent questions in advance that we haven't got to. Do email through and we can try and answer you. And to those who've added comments in the chat, much appreciated. Huge thank you to the many people all around the world, that incredible list of countries that still slightly blows my mind and shows you just the fascination with this topic. Thanks to our audience for joining us. Thank you very much to our panelists. You are extremely busy people. You do incredibly important, incredibly stressful jobs that are 24/7, 365 days a year, and the world is very grateful to you and what you do. And from the messages in the chat, please again share our appreciation, gratitude, and respect with your teams and your rangers. I think it's really important that when the guys are getting up before dawn, lacing up their boots, going out to walk every day, people around the world know about them and care about them and are grateful for what they're doing. Thank you to our tech team, without whom we wouldn't be able to put on these events. It's one of my favorite parts of this job, being able to share stories from the wonderful people we work with around the world, with people at home. We will be running an appeal towards the end of this month to raise money to buy the kind of basic essential kit that rangers so desperately need, that our panelists have spoken about. So if you are able to support that, we'd be really grateful. And we'll have another online event coming up next month. Look out for the date and the topic. And if there are particular questions or areas you'd like us to find speakers to talk about and to cover, again, do please get in touch and let us know. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Thanks for your interest and support for rhinos. Thank you. Bye-bye.